Yeah, I just watched the live-action Dragon Ball movie. Don't cry for me, I did it to myself. It really feels like this movie spits in your eyes when you watch it. I've never watched a movie and felt like genuinely offended until today. I almost made a goddamn twitlonger about this film. So I'm sure all of you know Dragon Ball Evolution is a 2009 live-action Dragon Ball movie, and it's abominable. And I'd never actually seen it. I'd always just heard how bad it was and just assumed it couldn't be worse than the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. But after finishing it, I can absolutely confirm that it is worse.
The first rule is there are no rules.
I didn't immediately recognize that was a leaf that flew by. I thought someone had thrown a hot dog at Goku's face, like an angry theater goer throwing tomatoes at the screen or something. I also thought I just completely purchased the wrong movie for a second and just got scammed, because this had nothing to do with Dragon Ball right off rip. The storyline is Piccolo's been sealed away by some ancient curse, and his apprentice Uzaru was sealed away with him, and now it's all about not letting him be unsealed. But he is unsealed. They don't explain how, but he escaped the seal. And like Gohan, Goku's grandpa says, the first rule is there are no rules, which is a line straight out of Fast and Furious. This suffers from the exact same curse that Avatar: The Last Airbender live action suffered from, where none of the characters look like the characters they're emulating, and nothing in the movie even comes close to anything that happened in the shows.
First one to touch the ground loses.
Yeah, that's a real scene in the movie. This isn't a fan edit. That's the level of visual effects that this movie comes to the table with. That little fly looks like an actual student's first attempt with Adobe After Effects after watching 2 YouTube tutorials on it. It is embarrassing how awful the visuals are here. Now, I will grant them that this movie had a $30 million budget, which by all measures for a theatrical release is pretty low, so they had to make do with what they had. So I'm guessing they just hired a team of high schoolers for CGI. This is probably the most insulting part of the movie. That was airbending. I'm not making this shit up, listen.
I will take you to a secret place where a chosen few were taught to master the energy of the 3 elements: air, fire, and water. Shadow Crane Strike is the most basic of all the air bending techniques.
I honestly felt like I was being made fun of, like my feelings were hurt just listening to this. They tried to like hijack Avatar, which is poetic because this came out a year before the last Airbender shitstorm, so it's almost like a little foreshadowing for like the impending disaster that would be the last Airbender movie. I just couldn't believe it when I heard this. For some reason they just bring in bending. Inexplicably. I mean, that's not in Dragon Ball. It's not like a crucial part of Dragon Ball. It's not like all of a sudden like Aang comes out of nowhere and kills Vegeta or some shit like that, or makes a wish on the Dragon Balls himself. I don't understand how this even happened. And it makes me put on the tinfoil hat a little bit to get into the conspiracy side of things, where maybe Hollywood was working together to ruin 2 franchises within a year, and they chose Dragon Ball and Avatar.
Promise.
Okay, you made me promise not to fight. Then teach me something I can use. Teach me how to get the girl. Teach me how to talk to her without stumbling all over everything I say.
This movie is so shameless they decided to make Goku an insecure high schooler who gets bullied and asks his grandfather for advice on how to get laid. Who do you think your grandpa is? Some kind of alpha male YouTuber giving you the secrets to pussy? It makes no sense why they would even make this decision for the film.
Hey, Fuller, you just wrecked my bike!
Agundis, did you just fart, man? Because I could have swore I just heard something.
Basically, they took Degrassi and slapped Dragon Ball names into it. They just gave us fucking Riverdale with a Dragon Ball skin, kind of. And you thought the last Airbender movie was a fucking disgrace to the show it was based on.
Don't worry, it won't be a fight.
It'll be a massacre.
He threw a plastic cup. Why did they make a glass breaking sound effect? Do you think we're all that dumb, huh? We've all seen that plastic cup because it's that same shit they sell in bulk at Target. We all have that cup. We know it doesn't fucking explode like a glass bomb going off.
Missed again.
He gets invited to a party, his bullies are there and they want to beat his ass, but he made a promise not to fight them, but he didn't make a promise not to dodge them and make them fight each other. So he dodges all of their attacks and they end up beating each other's asses instead. And I have to wonder, what high schoolers fight like it's the goddamn Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? One of them comes in with like a flying drop kick from across the fucking driveway for Goku to dodge. But anyway, he ends up dodging everything, they all hurt themselves, and Chi-Chi was watching and instantly falls in love with him.
Doing good. Hey, Fuller! You got a couple of dings there you might want to try buffing out.
I almost forgot to mention this incredible piece of cinema history. Goku starts breakdancing on the main bully's car, and the bully keeps hitting his car with a pipe while trying to hit Goku. But his moves are too smooth. He hits the meanest head slide of all time, going right across the hood of the bully's car. Bully hits it with a pipe again, breaking it even further. I mean, the resale value is tanked because Goku is so good. And then he dodges two bullies' attacks and they hit each other with their pipes. And that's game over, baby. He unleashed the dragon. He went Dragon Ball turbo mode.
I know this may be hard to believe, but we're a lot alike.
This is the best birthday I've ever had.
Goku and Chi-Chi share a very spicy interaction here, a lot of flirting, and my god, there is no chemistry between them. It's like chocolate milk and cereal. They just don't go well together. But while they're engaging in this flirting, Goku's grandpa gets murdered by Piccolo. He uses the Force to kill him. Before dying, though, Gohan tells Goku that he needs to find all 7 Dragon Balls and make a wish to banish Piccolo to the Shadow Realm in order to protect the Earth, and that he has to find Master Roshi in order to do it. But then he also meets Bulma.
Who's the idiot? Look at it. Oh my god.
Pretty fucking epic meeting, I will say. And then they manage to track Master Roshi down to a fucking, like, Dr. Seuss house in the middle of a lake outside of a city. But not really outside of a city, it's still like in the city in a retention pond, basically.
Bulma! Bulma! Bulma, wait!
Looks like I'm the idiot, so I thought that was water when I first watched it, but now that I'm editing it, I realize that it's actually floating above a bunch of shit. So I'm really confused on where this is and how this exists. Even more so now. But yeah, I guess it's not water. I don't exactly know what the fuck this is, but this is where they find him.
I am Muten Roshi, the Invincible!
My grandfather is dead.
An inspired performance as Master Roshi here, honestly, 1-to-1 with the anime. And speaking of 1-to-1, let's take a good look at Piccolo. Amateur cosplayers do a better job of looking like Piccolo than this $30 million budget movie. He looks less like Piccolo and more like the Martian Manhunter going through a phase.
For a pretty thing like you, no problemo.
Thank you. You're a real gentleman.
Yamcha, at your service. I'm gonna need some payment.
They fall into a hole and meet Yamcha. That's it. Also, the actor here is really going hard as Yamcha. It's like going so campy that it becomes like almost self-aware. as if this actor knew the script was so fucking trash that he just wanted to poke fun at it in his own performance. Every single line he delivers is the most outrageously over-the-top and dumb thing I've ever heard from a single character. And I have to feel, I really believe that it's on purpose from the actor here.
Wait a minute. Is that a Capsule RX 550 Roadster I see down there? Yo, I'll take that.
You're nothing but a low-life bandit.
Yeah, but one with a ladder. Just think it over, because after the sun comes out, it's gonna be hot, hot, hot. Hot.
You see what I mean? It's not even acting. It's like anti-acting. It's wild. I'm just not gonna bother showing anything from, like, the middle part of the movie. Eventually, Piccolo gets all the Dragon Balls through the most underwhelming and unentertaining means imaginable ever. So I'm doing you a favor, but this is when he's about to summon the dragon, so he gets into, like, a Ginyu Force pose. Like, he fucking T-poses and says, you know, like a prayer or something that Master Roshi interrupts. And you could see, again, the visual effects on full display here. You could feel every goddamn penny of that $30 million budget shining through in this beautiful spectacle.
Is a shell. This is who you are.
This was the big twist. Ozaru, the main bad guy that they needed to stop, not just Piccolo, but Ozaru, turns out to be Goku. He goes great ape form, kind of. I mean, that's how it is in the anime, but here he goes moderate werewolf mode, and then, unfortunately, in his anger and confusion, he kills Master Roshi.
Can you win? Don't let Ozaru destroy the Goku in you.
One of the saddest deaths in cinema history, I would argue, but luckily it was just enough to help snap Goku back into himself and out of Ozaru.
The Dragon Ball is mine.
Oh yeah, also Piccolo's sidekick gets shot and killed here. I don't think she ever even got a name. I'm pretty sure they didn't even bother to give this character any identity whatsoever. But she did have the power of shapeshifting because there's a scene where she transforms into Chi-Chi and then they fight each other. And then Goku beats the real Chi-Chi's ass by accident. It's not really like an entertaining scene to watch, but saying it out loud makes it sound better than it is.
I am Ozaru. To be at one with myself, I must be two.
Again!
Giant fucking fart effects all over the place. Bingo bango bongo. Goku beats Piccolo in triumphant fashion. And then they wish Master Roshi back from the dead with the Dragon Balls.
Dragon!
Roll credits. Or so you thought. It actually sets itself up for a sequel. Piccolo's not dead. In fact, he's alive. And sleeping. Soundly. Until he wakes up after having an interesting dream, I guess. So maybe we'll still see a Dragon Ball Evolution 2, if we're lucky. This was perhaps one of the worst adaptations of anything of all time. A statement I don't make lightly, especially after seeing the last Airbender movie, and there's countless other examples, but this one might actually be the worst. Even with all of the problems, the endless amount of problems with the last Airbender movie, it at the very least hit some of the story notes that were present in the show. Like some of the locations, some of it. At the very least. But this hits none. It's entirely different and worse in every possible aspect. The Avatar movie had like $100 million budget. It was a huge budget production. This one was $30 million and the visuals really suffer. Like everything is wrong with this movie. Every single component imaginable. It's actually a masterpiece in how awful it is. So yeah, I do think people are right to say that Dragon Ball Evolution is the worst movie adaptation ever, and potentially just one of the general worst movies ever made for the big screen. That's about it. So yeah. Avatar The Last Airbender is one of the best shows ever made. Avatar The Last Airbender, the movie, is one of the worst movies ever made, and it's significantly worse than you remember it being. When this movie came out, everyone couldn't wait to drop their trousers and take a fat shit on it, just plant a steaming load, because the movie's terrible, so it deserves all the insults and all of the scathing reviews it received. But yesterday, Andrew and I decided to take a bath in the M. Night Shyamalan septic tank and watch this film. It's the first time he'd seen it, and second time for me. I first saw it in 2016 because I'm a bad movie enthusiast, and I wanted to taste the forbidden fruit of the Avatar movie. I'd always heard how horrible it was, and I didn't see it when it first came out in 2010, so I went back to just experience it, and it was miserable. But after watching it yesterday again, I swear to God, M. Night Shyamalan himself has gone back into the movie to change things around to make them even worse. The movie is progressively getting stinkier. I felt like I entered an alternate dimension where the Avatar The Last Airbender movie was somehow even worse than it was in 2010. I didn't remember half of these scenes being as atrocious as they were, and it hasn't been that long since I saw it. It was shocking, and I don't say this lightly, but I do believe this is one of the worst films ever made. Yes, it is worse than The Room when it comes to its dialogue. The dialogue in this film actually does sound like it was written by Tommy Wiseau if he had just hit 50 whippets in his car. It is baffling that this somehow ended up in a big budget film. And I think it's worse than any student film, any indie film. It's worse than fucking YouTube Halo 3 machinimas. It is unbelievably terrible in every possible department. It's extremely obvious nobody on the production side ever watched the Avatar show because they get the pronunciation of every single name wrong. They don't even call him the Avatar, they call him the Avatar. And everyone already knows this, but his name's not Aang in the movie, it's Ong. Sokka is Sokka. Everything is wrong. It's like they just read a Wikipedia article about the Avatar show and then tried to make a movie off it based on 3 sentences, like a plot synopsis. I can't even wrap my head around how it ended up like this. It tries to cover a lot from the Avatar show. It goes all the way up to the moon spirit, starting from literal bottom, starting from the very beginning. In an hour and 40 minutes, it goes from freeing Aang from the water tribe area all the way up to the moon spirit. And nothing makes sense.
Never have a normal life. That I could never have a family. They said it cannot work with the responsibilities of the Avatar.
Why can't the Avatar have a family?
I asked that.
I wanted to show quite a few scenes from this movie while I talked about it to make my points, but I just don't want to take the chance of any copyright violations or anything like that, because God already knows M. Night Shyamalan will get the fucking copyright benders out here and fuck me up. So I'm only going to show bits and pieces here, but here's just an example of a conversation in this movie. It's like 2 Skyrim NPCs malfunctioning anytime characters talk to each other. They don't have conversations. They just vomit out plot synopsis. Just random sentences from the Wikipedia article about like chapter 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender show. They don't actually talk to each other. And it's also filmed super weird, as you'll see here, where it's like a zoom in on their face, like as if it's under a microscope. Like I can see every pore on Ong's face here. Why is it such like a hyper close-up? As if I'm trying to like look at his DNA, like get down to an atomic level on him. It's shot so poorly. And they turn Katara into a goddamn trivia bot. All she does is say like general things about the world at random and ask the dumbest questions of all time. Like, this is a really small excerpt here as an example. When she's on screen, all she's gonna do is monotone ask a question to whoever's near her. It's like she's lobotomized, and all she can do is just ask silly questions. It's like she's Clippy from Microsoft XP who just keeps popping up with a question that you just don't even understand why it's being asked. I don't know why she's even in the movie, because she doesn't do anything. And I don't mean that as an exaggeration. She doesn't do anything besides ask questions sometimes or appear emotionless and say something general about what's going on. For example, there's a scene where Ong runs away, and her and Sokka hear him running away, so they both get up out of bed and they say, "Ong's running away." And Katara says, "He's running away, but he'll probably be back." And that's it. That's like the only thing she contributes to the film in every scene, is just saying things that everyone can already see, or asking questions that are either already being answered or have no place in the film in the first place. She doesn't even waterbend. There's only 3 scenes, I believe, where she's waterbending. 2 of them she fails. Well, 4 actually. The 4th scene they forgot to use special effects, so she's like bending water, but they didn't put any special effects, so it's just like a calm river underneath her while Ong's looking impressed. So I imagine what was supposed to happen is she was supposed to be like lifting water up, but they just forgot to add that. So 4 scenes where she's supposed to be waterbending. One of them they didn't even add the effects, and then the other scene is she just gets hit by fire. So in the first 2 scenes, the waterbending fails. The last scene at the very end of the movie, where she's facing off against Zuko, she makes 2 water barriers, blocks 1 fireball, gets hit and knocked out. That's it. That's like the last time we see her. She doesn't do anything. I don't even know why she's here. She's just a fucking punching bag. And Sokka, I can't even imagine what M. Night Shyamalan told the actor to do, because when he's on screen, he just looks like he's always on the verge of tears. Like, he's always so serious, and he only has one look in this entire movie. He's like Derek fucking Zoolander. All he does is, when he's on screen, he does this. Forever. He doesn't fight. He doesn't contribute anything. He doesn't even really talk. He doesn't make jokes like Sokka does in the show. He is nothing. He is a fucking android that is malfunctioning. Like, you would expect for a big budget movie like this, they would hire actors that actually wanted to be there, but I felt like all of them were just counting down till they could go home. None of them even tried, except for Zuko. Zuko is actually played by a really talented actor named Dave Patel. He's the only one that even gives a fuck in this film, but even he is dog shit here. But he's the only one that I could see was even trying to act. The other ones just sound like they're voice acting on Disney Junior.
How'd you get all the way out here? I ran away from home. We got in a storm. We were forced under the water of the ocean.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
It wasn't very smart. I was just upset.
They're just literally explaining a plot summary of the show.
Yeah. With about the same delivery as me reading it in my head. The way the characters deliver their lines sounds about as enthusiastic as I do when I wait in line at the DMV and then have to fill out some shit. Like, they just seem so unbelievably bored to be there. And the movie, the most criminal thing about the movie is just how boring it is. Because like I said, they try and covered a lot from the Avatar show in a short amount of time. Thus, the majority of the movie comes out exactly like what you just saw, where they're just vomiting plot summary at each other with nothing else happening. Now, this film had a $150 million budget, so you would expect with that much money behind it, at least the fighting and the effects would look good. No. It's made in Adobe After Effects, it feels like, or Sony Vegas. Like, it's fucking trash. Look at this.
Oh my lord! Here it is!
Yeah. Whoa! Watch out! This is an actual scene in the final cut of the film. Fucking 10 earthbenders doing an interpretive dance in order to summon a small pebble and slowly push it towards their opponent. This is actually the scene out of Austin Powers when he's in the fucking steamroller and slowly about to run over that guy. And he just keeps screaming. That's the action in this entire movie. It's just people standing there waiting to slowly be hit by something, whether it's a small pebble from the earthbenders or a slight gust of wind from Ong. He doesn't use any cool airbending. Like, when Ong is fighting, he is summoning, like, actual puffs of wind. Like, as much wind as I generate just blowing out. That's what you see on screen for the fights. It's so fucking bad. Also, firebenders can't generate flames on their own in this movie. They need a fire source nearby. So the whole film falls apart at the end, where they could just extinguish the flames around the city and the firebenders would be powerless. Because the waterbenders could just throw water on all the torches that light up their city, and the firebenders wouldn't be able to fight back. Because for some fucking reason, M. Night Shyamalan decided to completely change how the bending works for them. So they needed a nearby fire source. Thus, the whole thing could have been avoided by just... If they just said, oh, here's the Fire Nation coming in. Alright, extinguish those torches. Then they're worthless. The film is so unbelievably silly.
That's the M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Oh, it's just like Lord of the Rings.
It is. It's as memorable and good, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't feel like writing a speech or a line, so he just said, go up there and make a noise. That right there is the only good piece of dialogue where one of the guys just goes up and instead of giving a speech just goes, because they just decided not to write dialogue or anything inspirational. Just this random fucking dude goes up there and just makes a goofy noise. That's about as much effort as that went into the entire film. That's the perfect summary of this film. Just go up there and do whatever. I don't care. I got paid a lot of money to make an Avatar movie, but I don't feel like doing any amount of work to make it good. This movie is beyond bad. This movie is like getting a colonoscopy while wide awake for it. It is painful. M. Night Shyamalan's known for his twists in movies, and the biggest twist about the Avatar movie was that it was the worst fucking thing you'll ever see in your life. So if you like the show, get ready to get slapped in the face. It is so much worse than I remembered it being. And it hasn't been that long since I've seen it. It is so fucking bad. And I've only scratched the surface. I wanted to do a really in-depth dive on it, but I just don't really want to risk like a copyright violation or anything, so I'm going to refrain from doing that. I'm just giving you the general basis on why it's so bad and what makes it so awful. There is not a single moment in this entire film that is even remotely interesting or well done. There is no character besides Zuko that even tries a little bit. And even Zuko, who's by far the best performer in this film, does an awful job. Because I really feel like M. Night Shyamalan told everyone to do terrible. Like, go out there and give it your absolute worst take. Andrew made a good point. He said Shyamalan probably just took the 70th take of each scene so all the actors were exhausted. That's the only explanation for how it ended up so bad, and how every single character in here is so poorly done. It makes no sense that this fucking film is in the state that it's in. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit since I rewatched it yesterday. That's about it. See ya. I'm going to show you an image, and I want you to tell me how it makes you feel. What does it say to you? Now, I don't want to scare you. This isn't meant to be frightening, but it will be a bit distressing. Think of it like a therapy session, and this is a Rorschach. You ready? Here it is. BuzzFeed Studios jump scare. Don't worry, it's gone now. It can't hurt you anymore. I know that seeing BuzzFeed Studios elicits a feeling of sadness and despair. I honestly didn't even know BuzzFeed was still around. I thought we had eradicated that plague many years ago, but I guess it's still got a heartbeat, no matter how faint, and they're going all in on this horror movie called Dear David, which is based on a Twitter thread. I shit you not. That is the most BuzzFeed shit imaginable. They're making a Twitter thread horror movie. A stunning, brave, and bold twist on the horror genre here. Innovation at its finest, and that's what BuzzFeed is known for. I really can't wait to see what's next for the creative minds at the BuzzFeed Studios basement. I want to see what else they'll cook up in that cursed kitchen. Perhaps a Netflix original thriller about a bubbly blogger who's now facing her worst nightmare when she goes to Starbucks and was served a grande instead of a venti. Fucking teeth chattering. Chills, I tell you, chills. BuzzFeed Studios, they're aiming for the fences. They're swinging for a big home run, and god damn it, I think they might just hit it. This trailer for Dear David is impressively awful. Before getting into the trailer itself, I'll just go ahead and show you what it's based on. It's from this thread in 2017 where a comic artist named Adam was documenting a series of hauntings he was experiencing from a dead child named David. And this is the police sketch of David, I guess. It looks like something out of Ed, Edd n Eddy, but this was meant to be taken seriously. He tried to play it off as a very real thing, even though it's very clearly just a load of baloney, just some fish paste to have a bit of fun. But there were tons of people that were really, encapsulated. They were hooked. They tuned in every day for the latest update from Adam on David. You know, is David still trying to kill you? What's David up to? Is he out there playing with Hot Wheels again in the middle of the night? Oh my god, David's a menace! We gotta fucking kill David quickly! That kind of shit. They were really invested in the story. And now BuzzFeed is doing what they do best. Striking while the iron is completely cold and everyone has forgotten about it. Not the most timely execution here. This is 6 fucking years too late. The whole world doesn't remember this thing, and now BuzzFeed for some reason is trying to parade its corpse around to make money off of it. in a very pitiful attempt at that. They chose something that was only popular on Twitter 6 years ago and only lasted for a handful of days, really. And they're like, yep, that's the one. That's our horror movie magnum opus. Dear David, let's run it. Like, I just can't even believe it. Why even bother? You're already so late to it. If this had come out in like 2018 maybe, then you might have a chance of getting a couple ticket sales. But this movie, Dear David, might legitimately sell 0 tickets. It's just incredible how out of touch BuzzFeed is. This is a film that wouldn't even be seen by family and friends because it looks so awful and uninteresting on a concept that no one cares about from a fucking Twitter thread. And it's integral to the film itself, too. Twitter plays a large role in the trailer. Like, that is so embarrassing. No one wants to go watch that. Like, if you went to the BuzzFeed office right now, I'm very curious what you would find. Maybe it looked like a dungeon where, like, there's only one light on. It's like a single light bulb dangling from a string. And, like, maybe 3 people on a computer still writing quizzes. What Harry Potter character are you? What does your favorite sex position say about your favorite Disney princess? Like, I don't know who's there and who came up with this. Not even AI would generate something this out of touch. Like, it blows my mind. But anyway, let's talk about the trailer now. I can't show you the trailer because I don't want to get, like, DMCA'd by BuzzFeed or anything. So I'll just show you some screenshots of it and tell you what's going on. So, they immediately get into the cringe because everything with BuzzFeed is like this imminent natural disaster of cringe, like a fucking tornado barreling towards you and you can't escape the embarrassment. So it opens up with the main character posting his comic on Twitter and getting roasted for it, saying it's bad, yikes, your comics are shitty now that you work for BuzzFeed. A literal self-insert with BuzzFeed here. So they're making comments like, you work for BuzzFeed, now your art's lame. And then one of his coworkers is like, it's the worst thing to do to engage with trolls online. And he's still engaging with trolls, and then he commits the ultimate sin. He summons the demon, David, by telling someone to die in a fire, DIAF. After sending that message, he then says this verbatim. Sometimes you've got to troll the trolls. So clearly this dialogue is written by actual 66-year-old men here, because Jesus Christ. So then, after saying die in a fire, this mysterious Twitter account pops up saying, why are you so mean? And if you look at the name, it's from Dear David. The shameless goofballs at BuzzFeed even had the gall to say that it's inspired by actual events. Oh, brother, it's inspired by an actual Twitter thread, not actual events. These events are about as real as the Blitzball Championship in Final Fantasy X. It's just a silly horror story that they cooked up. Nothing else. Just because it's written down in a Twitter thread doesn't mean that it's evidence that it's true. The trailer then goes into the same old, tired, generic, formulaic garbage that we've seen a million times. So here's this scary child, David, being a little goofball in the chair. He's here because I guess he didn't like the main character trolling on Twitter, I guess. He didn't like the die in a fire line, so now David's here to teach him a lesson. And of course, there's a BuzzFeed article being written about it. And honestly, this just seems like a really desperate attempt to remind people that BuzzFeed exists. So the more I watched the trailer, the more I realized that they're putting BuzzFeed in as many places as they can, and I really think that's because they recognize that nobody gives a fuck about them anymore. So this is just like a Hail Mary attempt to remind people that this is still a platform that exists. And my God, is it just awful to look at. It's so pathetic. The trailer drags on with more normal, boring trash with tiny little jump scares here and there and little creepy images. And then we reach towards the end here where he's getting out of a shower and he notices in the mirror, DIAF. Die in a fire. The same thing he said to troll the trolls on Twitter, if you might remember. And now he's being haunted by the DIAF statement. So this whole thing seems like David's really trying to troll the troll who was trolling trolls. Leave it to BuzzFeed to break new ground. Pioneers, I tell you. Absolute fucking geniuses. There's really nothing else to discuss with the trailer. It is literally just all the same exact horror movie trope cliche that you've seen actually a billion times by now, shoved into one desperate attempt from BuzzFeed to remind people that they're still around. So yeah, this is already shaping up to be an extremely embarrassing endeavor from BuzzFeed here. It's not something anyone asked for, ever, really, and it's also 6 years too late anyway. I just don't understand the thought process. Horror movies are always made on a very low budget, and this looks like no exception. It looks like it's a very low budget movie, so most of the time horror movies actually turn a very sizable profit because, like Blumhouse, for example, will make a horror movie for like $2 million, and then if it only does like a $8 million box office run, it still did pretty well. Like, that's still a financial success overall. That's why Blumhouse keeps churning out like pretty low effort horror movies pretty often, because they're cheap. And it doesn't have to perform extraordinary in the box office, and sometimes it does. It goes well above what it should have. It punched above its weight class, like, for example, Paranormal Activity. Very low budget and made 9 figures. So there's always so much room for horror movies to be a financial success because they're so cheap, but in this case, I don't see that happening, because who the fuck wants to watch this? I love fun, bad horror movies, but this does not look like a fun, bad horror movie. Even I'm not that interested in seeing it. And that's saying something. That's a fucking statement right there. You have dreadfully missed if you're making a bad horror film that even I'm bored by. So I might still see it out of pity, I don't know yet, but it just, I just don't understand what their thought process was here. It looks like shit. It really does. I don't think it's going to save the company. I think it's only going to continue to push the company's head even deeper into the toilet, but I guess we'll see. That's about it. See ya. You all know how much I love horrible, bad movies, and I am just giddy with excitement right now to talk about a movie I just saw that I now consider to be the goofiest film ever made. I just got back from the theater from seeing Moonfall, which is Roland Emmerich's new disaster porn. He's the man behind, like, 2012, Day After Tomorrow, some classics. And with this bad boy, he has created the stinker masterpiece, a smelly magnum opus. This movie, I can't even believe actually exists. I saw it in IMAX because I don't like to just watch a bad movie. I want to feel a bad movie, and goddamn did I feel it deep in my ass. This was an absolutely wild ride from start to finish. If somebody asked me what the best movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. If someone asked me what the worst movie ever made was, I'd say Moonfall. I don't know whether to give Moonfall a 100% on the moist meter or a 0. This fucking thing was so beautifully awful in all of the perfect ways. I just can't describe it. It is the actual perfect storm of dog shit put into film. The movie was like 2 hours long, and I swear to God, it felt like 20 minutes. I was upset when this movie ended. I just wanted it to keep going and going. This movie could have ran 8 hours, and I wouldn't have complained if it kept up this intensity. It was an amazing experience. So, spoiler alert, I want to go into it. I really want to fucking peel apart these stinky cheeks and tell you all about this movie start to finish. And let me just go ahead and say, this movie had the audacity to try and hint at a universe, like a Moonfall extended universe, kind of like the Marvel or Star Wars universe they created. Moonfall did that towards the end, and I need a sequel. The human race deserves a sequel to Moonfall. So let's get into it. So the movie starts with our main character, Brian, played by Patrick Wilson, in space with our other extremely important character, I forgot her name already, but played by Halle Berry. That's another thing about this movie. I saw it with Andrew, and the second we left the theater, we couldn't remember a single one of the characters' names apart from, like, Brian and the cat's name, which was Fuzz Aldrin. So, like, that's another thing. Like, all the characters are super forgettable. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson's character, they're in space working on the space shuttle. And there's another character there with them that's helping, and then all of a sudden, a massive cloud of space dust blasts the ship. It tears it to pieces, knocks out Halle Berry, and it sends Brian, like, scrambling to get inside. And then the other guy, who I don't even know if they even gave a name to, his line gets cut, and he just gets sent, like, quadruple backflipping through space for all eternity and dies. And then when they arrive back at Earth, they blame Brian for the whole event, despite there being camera footage of this space dust being the culprit, destroying the ship. They're blaming Brian. They're like, you are a disgrace. Your negligence caused the death of an astronaut and the destruction of so much money worth of, NASA parts. You're going off book now. get out of NASA. So then he gets fired. His wife leaves him. His kid hates him. He's now like this drunkard who is really just scraping by and struggling. For some reason, the whole trial was public and he's insisting he was innocent. It was this very strange technological space dust that just fucking flew through like a fart. And he traced it back to a corner, like a quarter of the moon called like Mars Capri Sun or something. I already forgot the name of it. But no one believed him. Everyone mocked him. He got fired. His life ruined as a result. And then we're introduced to a very important character called KC. KC is a conspiracy theorist who really cracks the code that the moon is falling out of orbit. And KC believes it's because the moon is actually a megastructure put there by aliens. So he has his own little group of conspiracy theorists that also believe in the megastructures. And he tries very hard to bring this information to NASA to let them know that the moon is out of orbit, shit's gonna get rough. So just like in Majora's Mask, the moon is coming closer to Earth, and the closer it gets to Earth, the worse it is for humans because the gravitational pull from Earth will rip apart the moon, sending all of these giant chunks into the planet, destroying pretty much everything. A doomsday event, an apocalypse. And no one's believing KC, even though he has all of the research and evidence to back it up. So eventually he turns to Twitter, and he makes an anonymous post with all of the evidence, and miraculously overnight the entire world believes him. It becomes the #1 trend, and every single news outlet everywhere is talking about it. NASA comes forward to corroborate it. Now everyone knows, yep, moon's about to fuck our shit up. So then they all try and come up with plans, and I swear to God, every character in this movie makes the stupidest decisions at every possible moment. It blew me away. It's like every character, even the ones that are supposed to be smart, like the scientists, are like lobotomized zombies. They get nothing right. None of it makes sense at all. But even suspending disbelief, you can't help but just sit there and scratch your head like there's no way they just said or did that. Like I'm trying to sum it up to give you the cliff notes before I like start really dissecting it. So once it's been confirmed that the moon's coming to the Earth, Brian, the disgraced astronaut, teams up with Casey. They hang out for a bit, and then Holly Berry, who's still employed by NASA, it just out of nowhere sends a helicopter to pick both of them up to help them defeat the moon, because now the moon's like a raid boss. So then they come up with a plan to like take an EMP device to the moon. Everyone believes them now. Also, NASA confirmed all of this and then like really figured they needed Brian's help, because they sent like a crew of 3 astronauts up to check out that crater, and then the giant space dust came up in the shape of like a goddamn ringworm, and it kills all 3 of them. So then they conclude like, yep, there's something weird and wacky going on with the moon. It's got some kind of artificial intelligence living inside of it. So then that's when Brian and KC come. My God. I really want to get deeper into it, but I want to give everyone like the full overview of the movie so you can see it. This whole movie is like taking the insanity of a Neil Breen movie, but giving it $100 million to realize the craziness. Better example for all the weebs. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, where they start like underground, and then by the end of the show, they're in space mechs throwing galaxies at each other. It's that, but for pseudoscience and conspiracies. It's fucking mind-blowing. So, Brian, Casey, Holly Berry, they're at NASA. Everyone knows Doomsday's coming, so they're all, for some reason, taking refuge in Colorado. The word Colorado must have been mentioned 1,000,000 fucking times throughout this movie. This had to be just some kind of propaganda to increase tourism there or something. And also, you see Kaspersky on billboards, and apparently all of NASA is powered by Kaspersky antivirus, because every time they fire on a computer, it just says Kaspersky. And that's all there is on the screen. It's just like they look at Kaspersky and things start helping. But I keep getting too specific. Again, everyone's at NASA. They come up with a plan. They get this old EMP device that they're going to take to the moon and blow up the space worm. And this also confirms that space dust that blew up the ship that Brian was on initially were nanobots from the AI. So they've got the plan. They've got the EMP. They've now got Brian to pilot it. But something goes wrong. The moon's getting closer, so an earthquake happens, and it cracks the coolant in one of the engines, and it plays out exactly like this. I'm not exaggerating. Holly Berry and Brian go up to check out what's going on. One guy says, the coolant's leaking, and I don't know how to fix it. No one here can really fix it. And she's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. She's like, all right, well, that's the end of the mission. I guess everyone needs to go home. So every single person at NASA, except for Holly Berry, Casey, and Brian, as well as 2 other data analysts and a couple of military guys, all leave and abandon the Earth and just like, yep, I guess we just have to accept this is the apocalypse and there's nothing we can do. Just because one of the coolants was leaking a little bit, and then the solution, I shit you not, was we'll just fly without it. Apparently the entire time they could just fly without it because the moon was close enough, and Casey knew that and then relayed the information a little late to Holly Berry, and she just didn't bother to call anyone back. She's like, all right, well, I already told them they can leave. They can go. We can do it ourselves. So then we get our heroes strapping into the spaceship, ready to take on the moon, and as the moon's getting closer, it's causing gravitational disturbances, so there's water that's getting sucked up, and it's like giant waves of water that are just standing there. And those 2 like data analysts that stayed behind that I briefly mentioned, they get evacuated. They get into a helicopter with the military people because the waves are getting closer as the moon's passing over. And I can't even believe this fucking happened. They take off with plenty of time to escape, but instead of going away from the waves, the goddamn pilot kamikazes into the waves, and it's supposed to be this emotional moment of, oh my god, there is no escape. But like you can see, when the helicopter takes off, it could have just gone right, but instead inexplicably just goes left into the waves. And I'm missing so many impressive details. Brian's son, who hates him, went to jail. Brian got him out of jail. And for some reason, the military flew Brian's son here just to be in like the middle of the shitstorm. So Brian's son's there and then needs to take off in a car away from the facility as the waves are getting closer. But instead of taking off, he goes to a mountain and parks just to check out his dad's spaceship as the waves are getting closer. So the spaceship takes off, it's beating the waves, but his son and then Holly Berry's son is also with him, and then their babysitter are all just in this car, outside of this car watching. And then eventually the kid's like, all right, now it's time to probably go. As the waves are literally like bashing the bumper of the car, it's like, okay, we've had our fun. So then they engage on this high-speed chase against the moon, and then they eventually get hunted by people that are like scavenging for parts. Oh my god, it's so much. So everything on Earth's going to shit. The gravity's all fucked up. Holly Berry, Brian, and Casey are now heading towards the moon, and it turns out the AI that inhabits the moon is attracted to electronics, but only if there's organic life inside of it. So the EMP they brought is useless because the AI won't bite it. So they're using it like bait and trying to fish with it. But for some reason it needs to be inside of it. They don't explain why. The AI was circling it and like playing patty cake with the EMP, and they didn't blow it up for no reason. They just concluded that it needs to be inside. So they get the EMP back and go deeper in the moon, and it turns out the moon is actually a Dyson sphere built by aliens, confirming Casey's theory that also happens to grow potatoes inside of it for some reason. And it's a Dyson sphere encapsulating a white dwarf that it's using for its power source, and the AI is sapping the power from the white dwarf. And then the AI gets alerted to the crew that's in the spaceship that's flying around. And then a door opens in the Dyson sphere as the AI is tracking them, and it shuts, closing out the AI and then saving the crew. And then it turns out that the Dyson sphere wasn't built by just any aliens, it was built by ancient humans, and they communicate to Brian through celestial beams and flashbacks of his son talking to him, kind of like in Mass Effect 3 where the Reapers take on the body of a child. They did that for Brian in order to talk to him. It was a sentient AI being, like it was an AI construct for the Dyson sphere. It was built by humans that billions of years ago were spacefaring, hyper-advanced technological superstars, and eventually they created an AI that turned on them via kind of like Skynet, and it made all of them go extinct. But before their final extinction, they built giant moons that they would toss out to corners of the universe to try and remake humanity elsewhere. And this just happened to be the last surviving one, the only one the AI couldn't find until this movie. So that's the explanation there. Eventually they upgrade the EMP, the AI construct on the moon, like turbocharges the EMP, then gets some defense systems going that just start shooting bullets at the AI, and then they're escaping the moon. KC blasts open the hatch with himself inside because he says, an organic being needs to be with the technology in order for the AI to bite me. And he's like, oh my god, Casey's gonna die. Brian and Holly Berry are upset, and Casey's like, no, it's fine. So the AI starts eating him, and he's like, you underestimated us. Blows up the EMP. And then, you know, Casey's dead. AI's gone now, so the moon is back. So then the moon leaves Earth, and now it's just this giant Dyson sphere that is now outside of Earth, and everyone's happy. Earth's super fucked. Everything flooded. Everything got absolutely destroyed, but there's still some people left, and now the moon's our friend again. And, yeah, that's not where it ends. So Casey didn't actually fully die. The AI construct on the moon installation actually copied his consciousness into their database, and now Casey has become the moon itself. And the last line is, we have work to do, which hints at expanding the universe and bringing all of the other AI that is still out there into the fold. And my god, I can't wait to see the sequel. I pray there is one, because this was amazing. I am not even doing this justice with my brief explanation. I need to get into the nitty-gritty of it to tell you just how fucking off the wall this shit was. So the billion-year-old humans, they basically just created Halo. They just stole Halo's plot for a little bit. The installations they made back then were Halo rings. They all lived on Halo rings. And the AI they made, for some reason, turned on them like Cortana. Almost in the same fashion. They deemed that humans weren't worth saving and that they were inferior to them, and just started wiping them out inexplicably. Like, this movie is fucking incredible. Like, the visuals were kind of cool. Like, you know, you always like to see those big budget disaster visuals. And when they'd have the moon peeking over the Earth, it looked cool. And they had awesome lines such as, watch out, the moon is rising. And then all of a sudden, like, boats would be flying overhead. Fucking manatees falling onto the ground. Oh my god, it was so good. And there was, like, an advertisement for Alexis. Because when there was these people, the scavengers that were hunting down the sun, eventually the son meets up with Brian's wife and her new husband that cucked him or whatever. And they're on this high-speed chase, and they can't get away, right? These scavengers, they're so fast, and they want their oxygen tanks. And they're in a Lexus, and they keep zooming in on the Lexus and, like, throwing it, drifting around. And the dad goes, hold on, I'm putting this into warp speed. And they zoom in on the Lexus logo, and then him turning from economy mode to sport mode. And then it fucking turbocharges and goes wild. Then they're able to outrun him. This movie, man, is actual fucking genius. Like, I can't talk enough about it. Every single moment of this movie, when you think they've run out of stupid juice, finds another way to make it even dumber. And I couldn't appreciate it more. I loved it. I fucking loved it. I don't even know how you make a movie this dumb. On accident, too. Like, this isn't a self-aware movie. There is no self-awareness in this movie at all. There's a couple of jokes, but they're not like self-aware jokes. They're just like general, decently written jokes. But nothing is self-aware. It really takes itself super seriously, and I love that about it. The best kind of bad movie is one where the director really wanted to do something special but just didn't have the talent or the vision to realize it. And this is one of those cases. It is, in every possible department, the best way to make a bad movie. It is the worst and goofiest movie in all of the right ways. I just don't think you could make a movie this stupid on purpose. This movie was just an amazing experience. This was something truly special. If you like bad, shitty movies, this is the movie to go see. This is going to be 2022's best stupid movie, I think. It would be tough to beat this one. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because I've had a smile on my face ever since leaving the theater. There's still so much more I could talk about with this movie. I've barely even scratched the surface of lunacy with Moonfall. But it's just, without you having seen the movie, it's not going to make as much sense. And sense is a word that is blasphemous to even use in the same sentence as Moonfall. That word never once crossed the mind of anyone who touched the script for this. The whole movie just felt like it was kids going and then trying to one-up each other. Nothing connects logically. Obviously, nothing here is mathematically, scientifically accurate, or even common sense accurate. Like, everything is wrong in the perfect ways. Like, for example, they're able to find everyone in the world just because. So, like, when they find Brian and Casey, they're in, like, this fucking random hotel somewhere, and somehow they just get found because. Or, like, the family is trekking through snow at the very end, and somehow they just make it to where they need to be without dying along the way and then get found. Like, everything, it just happens because fuck it. And I love that about it. It's so shameless in its horribleness. It was amazing. Just an incredible experience that I wanted to talk about a little bit. That's about it. See ya. A question I'm often asked is, what is the worst movie I've ever seen? I've seen a lot of movies, a lot of them real dog shitty. From about 2014 to early 2017, I watched every single horror movie that Netflix put on its catalog. Every single one, no exaggeration. So I've seen some truly abominable shit. I couldn't even tell you the name of half of these. I just have fragments of these movies in my brain, burned in my psyche, like some kind of fever dream. I'm basically the Library of Alexandria for awful horror movies if they ever went to Netflix. Like, I remember some bafflingly awful shit. There was this one movie that I'll never remember the name of. It was about some kids who took control of one of their parents' houses or something, and they stole their pool, and then one of their dads gets shot, and they're like, damn, I guess the pool's no good anymore. I guess we'll give the pool back, I think. Something like that. Maybe that made sense to someone out there. If you know what movie I'm talking about, feel free to let me know. But the point is, I've seen some awful garbage. So the other night on stream, I was asked again, what is my least favorite movie I've ever seen? And I've always had an answer. 2 movies. I say that they're tied for my least favorite movie. It's Superfast and Let's Be Evil. And that night on stream, I decided to pull up the trailer for Let's Be Evil, and it reminded me of just how truly terrible that movie was. So now I have a conclusive answer. My least favorite movie ever is Let's Be Evil. And I want to play you the stream clip real quick, and then after that I want to go over why it's the worst movie I've ever seen, because I recently tried to rewatch it. Least favorite movie of all time? It's probably still Superfast. Superfast or Let's Be Evil? No one's ever heard of this movie except for me. This movie was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had watching something. And the worst part about Let's Be Evil is I fell asleep twice, and Tiana rewound it so that way I didn't miss anything. So it was just like the movie went on so much longer than the fucking runtime. The movie's about like these 3 babysitters that go to an underground bunker to babysit some very smart children, but the children aren't that smart. All they do is sit there and touch holograms, and then the babysitters go to sleep, and then eventually the children are evil, so they start hacking the holograms, and the babysitters get upset about that, and then the kids get upset at the babysitters. So then, like, they somehow start killing the babysitters through hacking, and then it's revealed at the end that the children chose the babysitters and they run the bunker. Like, it's so fucking dumb. Yeah, I take it back. I always say Superfast or this movie. This movie is so much worse than Superfast. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my god, it's so bad. When we watched this movie, like I said, I fell asleep and Tiana would rewind it so I didn't miss it. I honestly thought that night went on for days. Like, it felt like in Bleach when that dude poisons the guy to slow down time significantly. That's what this movie did to me. I didn't understand a single second of what I just saw. Yeah, because this movie, like, they wrote this movie with nothing in it. They had an idea. Let's get some babysitters and some kids. And that's as far as it went. And it's stretched across, like, how long is it? Like an hour and 30 minutes of excruciating agony. You'll watch that movie, an hour and 22 minutes will go by, and you'll have aged 2 years. It's fucking awful. My god. Which one of you asked me what my least favorite movie is? You've made me mad now. Now I had to remember this movie. I need to rewatch this. So, now I've tried to rewatch it. It didn't go very well. I couldn't finish it. This movie, I fell asleep during it again, and this time Tiana wasn't around to wake me up and rewind it. So I dozed off again. This movie is like actual hypnotism for me. I cannot stay awake during this fucking thing. If you're struggling with insomnia, put on Let's Be Evil. It might help you. And if Let's Be Evil doesn't help you fall asleep, try One Piece. That ought to do the trick. I'm 30 episodes in, and goddammit, it is boring. But the point is, I fell asleep about 40-ish minutes in, so then I had to fucking rewind it myself when I woke up in order to finish the goddamn movie, and it's awful. It's worse than I remembered it being. But my synopsis was right on the money. Basically, 3 babysitters go to watch some kids do this in the cafeteria. This is all the kids do. Like, half of the time the kids are on screen, they're just doing this with their hands because there's little holograms. They're all wearing these goofy glasses. The glasses look like the old 3D glasses you'd get at the movie theater, like when you went to go see Spy Kids 3D, so you just have these stupid, goofy glasses on. They look like the wind goggles that you put on dogs. Like, if your dog likes to hang his head out the window, you put the goggles on them so they don't hurt their eyes. That's what it looks like. And somehow this movie cost $9.9 million to make. I can't believe it. Then there's also, of course, the AI companion, which I totally forgot about. They have, like, this little Cortana, and she's built into the augmented reality glasses that they're all forced to wear. Her name's Ariel. She looks like Chaos from the Sonic series, so, like, this liquid blob of fucking goo. And she's just like, hey, what's going on, pussies? I'm Ariel. I'm a robot. That's about all she really does. And then the whole movie's like, wow, augmented reality's kind of cool. One of the babysitters, his name's Darby, he's spinning a fucking teapot. He's like, whoa. Yeah, because the teapot's not real. It's a hologram. So he's spinning a teapot, and it's like it's crazy. And then eventually they're like, so we're here to save America. Like, that's what they're working under, the assumption of, like, they're here to watch these kids because these kids are going to save America. So they're being real patriotic. So it's like, okay, let's go watch the kids do this, and whatever. So they go do that. And then eventually the kids are like, hey, no siree, not on my watch. Gonna cut that shit out. So they start killing the babysitters. And then we finally reach the conclusion where it's revealed Cassandra, one of the children, chose the babysitters. So it was all part of their plan the whole time. They just were evil. So I've looked everywhere online for an explanation for what the fuck this movie was about. No one has any. Not even the most pretentious Redditors have any idea what the fuck went on in this movie, which is shocking. I've never seen that for any other movie ever. This movie is devoid of any and all meaning, purpose, and plot. There's no narrative. The dialogue between the characters is written like the AI in the movie fucking wrote it itself, with no understanding of how human beings communicate with each other. It is shocking. This movie is like if Attaway General tried to make a horror film. It's crazy. This is not a so bad it's good movie. This is the most boring movie I've ever watched, and I don't say that lightly. I would rather play through Death Stranding, start to finish, in one sitting without being allowed to sleep than sit through an hour and 22 minutes of this movie. And Death Stranding is a long fucking game. This is the first Strand-type movie. It is a battle just to stay awake watching this fucking thing. It is awful. Now, this isn't a popular movie, of course. I've never heard anyone mention this ever in the history of human language. I don't think anyone's ever recommended this movie out loud or even typed this in like a text message like, hey, let's watch Let's Be Evil. But there still were quite a few people that were commenting on it on YouTube, IMDb, Reddit, and all of them didn't like it for obvious reasons, but there were a few people I saw defending it. So I was just trying to figure out what they saw in the movie that I might have been missing, because I would have liked to get another perspective. Maybe they really fucking solved this Rubik's Cube of a movie and figured out what it was all about, but they didn't. They just said they liked the colors and the sound effects, or the theme song. So if that's the best compliment you can give to the movie, that the colors were cool and the theme song was great, you didn't do a good job with your movie. I'm sure all of you know by now I love watching shitty movies, I love playing shitty games, I love listening to shitty music, because I find all of it to be entertaining. This movie is not entertaining. There is nothing about this movie that crosses the so bad it's good threshold. It is insufferable. I can't express that enough. I've never had a movie that makes me angry to think about. Until now, this movie insults your time left on this planet. An hour and 22 minutes spent watching this would be better spent doing anything else. Hitting your shins with a hammer for an hour and 22 minutes is a more productive and less painful use of your time. At least then, your shins will start to become a bit stronger, kind of like how Muay Thai fighters kick down trees with their shins in order for the bones to be built up a little stronger. Like, that would be better than an hour and 22 minutes watching Let's Be Evil. It's so bad. So yeah, that's about it. That's the worst movie I've ever seen. So yeah. I love horror movies and horror games, but not for the reason most sane people like things. I like them because 9 times out of 10, they're laughably awful, and that always puts a smile on my face. I'm built a little different, where when something is so trash, it becomes a treasure to me. Like, I have the most fun watching or playing horrible garbage. And that sounds a little weird, but I've been thinking about it recently, and it's something kind of like color blindness. You know how some people process colors in different ways, they don't see them the same way? That's kind of me with quality. I'm quality blind, where when something is so bad, I perceive it as being a masterpiece. I have so much fun with bad movies or bad games. They always make me happy. Happier than like a normal good game or good movie sometimes. And I know I'm not alone. It's a very real phenomenon. It's called fun bad. It is always enjoyable to just sit down and watch or play something that is objectively not good and just laugh at it, make fun of it. You know, point your finger at it, shoot spitballs, make jokes about it with your friends. Like, it's a good time. And for years now, horror has been the main genre that's been pumping stinker after stinker, blessing us with some timeless classic fun bad content. There is more shit in the horror genre than there is in the scat fetish genre. Horror has just become like the go-to cum dumpster of absolute abominations when it comes to entertainment in movies and games. But unfortunately, sports fans, I think we're starting to enter the dark ages of the horror genre, where it's no longer making fun bad content, it's just making boring bad content that's no longer got anything redeemable about it at all. And the best example of this is the newest Insidious movie, The Red Door, which I saw last night. Now, before getting into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Call of Dragons. Huge thanks to Call of Dragons for sponsoring today's video. Call of Dragons is a beautiful new MMO fantasy conquest game developed by the creators of Rise of Kingdoms, and they've been working on this project for over 3 years now. It's huge battles, tons of strategic freedom, and it's PC and mobile crossplay.
Big coolest feature now is the behemoths. They're these massive beasts that you can use to crush your enemies in PvE and PvP. You can fight with your alliance in guild versus environment. So, to tell you about a few of them, we brought our whole alliance here with us today.
Whoa! Call of Dragons!
Yep!
The Thunder Rock!
The Thunder Rock!
Ancient Magic Bear! Mighty
Yep.
Red Dragon, baby!
There we
go.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
It's contagious when it's Call of Dragons, baby.
There's ancient giant bears, thunder rocks, red dragons. There's actually 8 unique behemoths you can collect, and you have to enter their lair, take them down, and you can actually own 8 or as many as you want, and you train them up. They've got their own skill trees, so you give them the skills and powers you want so that you can take them into battle and crush your enemies with them.
Huge thanks again to Call of Dragons for sponsoring today's video. You can download it today by clicking the link in the description, or by scanning the QR code on your screen, or by using code CODMonster.
Yeah, if you use code CODMonster in-game, you'll get special rewards. So thanks again.
Magic, monsters, mastery.
This is the 5th Insidious movie, and it is long overstayed its welcome. The party's over, the music stopped fucking 2 movies ago, and yet it's still here trying to party, and it's just embarrassing now. The 4th movie was already overstaying its welcome, people were already fucking tired of it then, and now it's just sad and desperate. They've got this franchise propped up like Weekend at Bernie's. It's dead, and they're just like puppeteering its corpse right now. Insidious the Red Door has no story to tell whatsoever. It has no reason to exist other than try desperately to milk a little extra coin out of the property's name, because most people remember the first 3 movies very fondly, especially the first one. I remember that being like a phenomenon when that one came out. So the name still has weight to it, and they're trying their best to just get a little bit more out of it without anything left in the tank. So the reason I'm not making a moist meter on this is because I really want to dive into just what makes a horror movie no longer fun bad, and it just becomes a sad, worthless experience like Insidious the Red Door. So I will be getting into spoilers a little bit in this. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing or anything like that, but I do need to get into specifics in order to make the point that I'd like to make. Now, Insidious the Red Door is again the 5th entry in this franchise, but the beauty of that is you don't need to see any of the other ones to be caught up to speed on this, because it doesn't really tie into anything, and the only thing that it has is loose connections in the same characters from the previous films. You don't need to know anything about their history. You don't need to know anything about the world that it's in. It doesn't even really need to give you a refresher course on it, because everything that happens starts after a hypnotic memory erasing moment. So they get their memories sealed away, they get amnesia in order to forget all the trauma of their past, and then this movie is them slowly, like, realizing that something fishy happened. Well, why can't they remember, like, a whole year of their life? And then that's kind of what the movie picks up on. So you don't really need any of the other Insidious background information, which is good because I don't think there's a single person in the fucking world who remembers Insidious 4. I feel like we all got memory erased with how bad that movie was, because absolutely nobody I've seen online talking about this, or anyone I've talked to about it, like Tiana and I saw it together and I mentioned Insidious 4 to her and she had no fucking clue what I was talking about. I sounded like a crazy person to her, and I don't even remember a single plot point from it other than like a jailer jingling keys like he was trying to entertain like a Twitch audience or something. So this is one of the few compliments I can give to the Red Door. At least you didn't need to see the fourth movie in order to understand what's going on here, because everything that happens in this film is already nonsensical and self-contained to begin with. So, the film is all about them getting their memories sealed away. You know, they've got it trapped, and then it's slowly getting back those memories. Dalton, the son in the franchise, is going off to college, and the dad, Patrick Wilson, he's kind of an absent father. He's been pushed away, and he's always foggy, as he calls it. His memories aren't what they should be, and it makes him upset. So he basically abandons his family in order to exist in this perpetual trance of confusion. So he's not a great dad anymore, and Dalton resents him for it. But he eventually lets his dad drive him to college. And he's an art student, and he gets a new art teacher who's a real hard ass. And she basically brings the demon out of him. He goes into like a meditative state under the instruction of the art teacher, and then he draws the Red Door. And once the Red Door is put on the canvas, all hell breaks loose. And by that I mean 2 jump scares happen, and pretty much nothing else. This movie is not even a horror film. That's the big plot twist. It is legitimately like a CW supernatural thriller, at best. There are very, very few horror elements in here other than just very loud jump scares occasionally, but even that's pretty rare. They ordered a horror movie but forgot the scary. They said, hey, can we put the scary on the side? And forgot the side of scary. This shit is so flat and goofy. So, Dalton, after drawing the Red Door, a hand like slaps his hand. He's like, oh no! So then he rushes back to his dorm in order to keep painting it and figure out what this means, because now he's starting to see things. Also, he has a roommate, and her name is Chris. And she doesn't make any sense in this film, because she is like the complete antithesis to a character you'd expect in a horror movie. She is constantly joking, and I think that's fine as a character trait, and I think it would work in other movies, but here, she does not stop joking. She doesn't take anything seriously. So when something that's supposed to be somewhat scary happens, Chris will immediately just get rid of all the tension with a joke like, hey, what are you doing on the floor? I just put a bottle rocket in the frat dude's toilet and I think it went straight up his asshole. And like, come on, get up. You gotta see this. He's walking around with a firework in his butt. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay, so now there's like no tension left and there's no scares left. Like, I don't even dislike Chris as a character because she was entertaining, at the very least, whereas nothing else in the movie was. At least she was trying to make something out of nothing with this film, but it does not fit in what is supposed to be a horror film, because when she's on screen, you know that it's just going to be a bit silly, because that's all she does, is just have fun. Even in the most tense of moments, she gets strangled by an invisible demon, and right after that, like within 2 scenes, she's back to joking and gets a bunch of like night lights and makes jokes about it. So it's just a character that doesn't take the movie seriously, so how the fuck is the audience supposed to? You have a character that is actually just like making fun of the film that they're in. But anyway, so Dalton paints the Red Door. Patrick Wilson's character's in his own home and he's trying to go through these like memory things. And he's doing like a matching game on the window, which is a goofy idea to begin with. And they're trying to do like subtle scares. So I'll like lift up one of the things and you see like someone wearing an orange shirt in the background by the tree and it's out of focus and you're like, oh goodness, that's horrifying. And then the scene will drag on for like 2 minutes of nothing happening. and then just like the glass explodes for a cheap jump scare. Like it doesn't even really build tension. All it does is it'll show you something a little out of focus in the distance, and then all of a sudden a fucking cannonball goes off. Just a really loud explosion noise, and that's the scare. So then that, the glass blows up and Patrick Wilson's jogging around his house going, "Oh no!" And then he like shuts a door, and then a ghost man pushes him against a wall and he finds a box of important lore tidbits. But not really, because the lore tidbits don't really mean much of fucking anything in this film, because there isn't a real narrative that they want to tell. But anyway, I'll just fast forward a little bit here. After learning about his dad, Patrick Wilson, he then goes to his wife, who has divorced him, and she reveals all the bad stuff, the stuff that he wanted to forget through the hypnosis. She reveals that while under the possession of the demon, he attacked the family and traumatized the kids, and his wife really couldn't look at him the same way anymore. She just felt fucking sick by his presence. So that's why they sealed off the memories. That's also why they divorced. And now, since Dalton has drawn the red door, everything's starting to flood back, and the family's getting those memories returned to them gradually, and they're seeing things. So Patrick Wilson keeps seeing a couple of ghosts, and that's when it's revealed that the reason all this is happening is because the dad, Patrick Wilson, and Dalton are able to astral project themselves into the spirit realm, like fucking Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So the entire half of this movie is spent astral projecting for the most part. And it's not like this is new for Insidious. We've known this for a long time. This has been a core component of the story. But here, it doesn't even bother to be horror. It is mainly like that astral projection in the smoky spot. It's literally just a room with a fog machine, and that's it. It's not, like, very interesting to look at. It's just barren, empty wasteland. Dalton is the first one to realize that he can do this, and he does it at his college dorm in order to, like, scare Chris. I shit you not, when he learns that he can astral project himself out of his body, first thing he does is go to Chris's room, grabs her little mouth piano, the melodica, and he plays a little wonderful symphony. So he hits her with, like, the beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, like the actual electric zoo out of fucking SpongeBob, which startles her. And then she, like, goes downstairs and she's like, "Were you in my room?" He's like, "No, I was actually in the spirit realm in your room." She's like, "Oh, interesting." So then he does it again at a frat party in order to talk to a frat douchebag who died from alcohol poisoning, because he thinks that he has clues about the door that needs to be closed, because he'd seen him once before and he's like, "Close the door." He's like, "Wait, what do you mean by close the door?" So he goes back, this time in the spirit realm, to ask him more about the door. And that's when Chris gets strangled by the big demon. So in the Insidious franchise, the main bad guy is the lipstick face demon, I think is what he's called. He's that goober goofball who's like kind of red, but also just kind of silly looking. And his signature move in the spirit realm is he always puts a Tiny Tim record on the player. You know, the guy who sung the song, like, Living in the Sunlight? Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. That guy. He always plays that music in the spirit realm, and it's supposed to be unnerving, but it is so cringe. That kind of shit is in horror movies and horror games out the wazoo. Tiny Tim, like the music from Tiny Tim, has become a horror movie and horror game staple for low budget, low effort productions. And I feel horrible for that. That's so unlucky for Tiny Tim's music. But yeah, that's what the demon does in the spirit realm. It's that guy. And he's breaking into the real realm because Dalton keeps astral projecting. And I don't want to get into like really deep spoilers, so I'm just going to be a little broad here. But eventually, Patrick Wilson learns that Dalton is in trouble because Lipstick Face Demon is taking over his body. So Patrick Wilson, astral projection to the spirit realm, tries to find Dalton. Dalton's struggling, and his body in the real world has now been taken over, and he might hurt Chris. So the movie, within the last, 20 minutes, very desperately wants to be over. It very, very much tries to speed run through everything in order to just end quickly and be done. It didn't want to be a long movie because it didn't have a story to tell. It was already running so thin. So they really just shoehorned in the most cliche shit imaginable at the end here. So basically, Patrick Wilson's spirit projects himself, or astral projects himself, somehow immediately finds Dalton. It breaks his chains with a fucking hammer. Also, I'm just getting into fucking full spoilers here. I'm sorry. I said I was going to be broad, but I actually just can't talk about how silly this is without just being specific. So major spoilers here for how the movie ends. I'm doing you a favor, though, really, because I don't recommend seeing it because there's nothing redeeming about it. It's not fun bad. But anyway, Patrick Wilson swoops in like a hero. Dalton has still hated him all the way up until this point, and now Dalton's memories have unlocked, so he remembers that his dad tried to hurt him. But Patrick Wilson breaks the chains with a single fucking hammer hit and frees Dalton from lipstick-faced demon's control. And then they both run away and close a door behind them, to which Dalton then puts paint on it and seals it forever, like a fucking sarcophagus, just entombs the demon back in that record-playing realm. And that's so fucking dumb. Like, I think that is so lazy, because everything just is a plot convenience. Patrick Wilson somehow astral projects and gets to the exact spot he needs and finds Dalton, who is buried under a bunch of chairs, and is able to break his chains very easily with a hammer. And then the lipstick-faced demon, for some reason, is following them very slowly. And this is the worst fucking trope in horror films. The demon is always just so fucking lazy. He had unlimited opportunities to stop them and thwart their escape, kill them, anything, possess them. But for some reason, he's more than content to just watch and do nothing. And even when he has Dalton's body completely under his control, instead of killing Chris, he just does goofy smiles and bobs to the side like that, and nothing else. The horror movies of the modern age just make the big bad demon or ghost or whatever seem so fucking incompetent, like actual bumbling imbeciles. They have an unreal amount of time and opportunities to kill these people, or at the very least just stop them from thwarting their plan, but they choose not to. They must enjoy it to some level, because again, the demon in this movie actually watches him free Dalton, slowly waddle their way around this realm, and he just stands there watching, and he goes, ah, like just makes a loud noise, and that's it. Nothing else. And then when they finally close the door, then the panic sets in, so now the demon like punches a hole through the door, and he's like slapping him around like, let me out, even though he could have just stopped him fucking 5 minutes before that. An unlimited amount of opportunities. It's just so stupid. Like, it's not fun bad, it's just kind of frustrating to sit there and watch it, because it's boring. It's fucking boring. This happens a billion times in horror movies. Like, it is the most cliche shit ever. I'm so tired of seeing it. Like, I love fun bad movies, but Insidious the Red Door and movies like it are no longer fun bad. They're just copy and pasting the homework from other horror movies of the past and doing nothing different or interesting. And it's so lazy that it's not fun bad. And it makes me upset. It's just a waste of time. It is a cash grab off the Insidious name, and it has nothing to offer. It is just a waste of your money and waste of your time. So I wanted to rant about that a little bit because I'm a little concerned that horror movies going forward aren't going to be fun bad anymore. They're going to follow the Insidious Red Door formula of just doing the exact same thing a million times over. And it's going to lose all of its luster. Horror games have already been going this direction. A lot of horror games that come out these days are just the same old walking simulators that do nothing different. It's just the same jump scares, same walking simulators, so they're fucking boring now. It's very rare that you get a fun, bad horror game. But now it seems like movies are starting to go that direction too, and I think Insidious, The Red Door, has really set the bar for what I think a lot of these are going to look like, which sucks. So just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's really about it. So yeah.